My friends, welcome to part 9 of the Chris Chan and Kasey's father call. Now we're nearing the end, but we still got a lot of good stuff in between. And where we left off last time was Kasey's dad letting Chris know that he never talked to anyone so naive before. And this was the crossing of the line, ladies and gentlemen. Chris did not appreciate that. And we're going to play it back from the beginning once I get done my little intro here, and you'll see how unhappy Chris was. Now, as I do in the beginning of all these, like I always say, it's important to remember this is all real to Chris, but like Kasey's dad, Kaseys herself, these are all trolls just here to kind of fuck with Chris. And it's also an important thing to remember that Chris has no rhyme or reason for the things he does. It's just Chris, so you don't need to make sense of these things because you're never going to find sense in them. But yeah, all that's not important. What's important is the end of this call. So let's jump into it and see where we were at.
I can't believe I'm talking to someone who's so naive.
You just crossed a line. You just crossed a line by saying the word naive. That is like the worst insult to
What
me.
line?
A line. You crossed the line. You just really tipped me off right there when you said that.
What are you going to do about it?
Nothing at the moment.
Nothing at the moment.
Because I can't really do anything. I'm not right there in front of you now, am I? I'm talking to you over the phone. The only thing I can do right now is let you know that you just crossed the line.
So as you can see, Chris is absolutely not having any of being called naive, and he's even letting Matthew know that, hey, if I was right in front of you right now, shit would be a lot different. And that's one of the funniest things about that is you can tell just for a split second in Chris's mind, he really thinks like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this dude up. But then he slowly but surely starts to walk it back, kind of like he did with the, your soldier buddy and the tombstone thing. Chris knows almost immediately, shit, probably shouldn't have said that. But it's still one of those things that Chris holds so near and dear to his heart that he couldn't just let it go. He had to finally snap and say something, because to him, being called naive is the worst type of insult. And, Kasey's dad, he knew what he was doing there, like 100%. This is supposed to be the climax of the call. And it's one of Matthew's last-ditch attempts to try to really piss Chris off here. And, for what it's worth, it 100% worked.
By saying that word.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to threaten me? You trying to threaten an ex-Marine?
No, I am not threatening you. I am not threatening you. I am in no position to threaten an ex-Marine. And I understand that, and I respect you as such.
Okay, so what are you saying? Because, I could whoop your naive little ass with my pinky if I wanted to.
And
Kaseys could whoop your ass. I'm surprised she hasn't already.
well, I would be able to defend myself.
So you would hit Kaseys?
Now, what Kasey's dad is trying to do here is clearly goad some shit because Chris did not say he wanted to fight Kaseys. I think Chris was still responding to the dad saying he'd beat the shit out of him. And, but you can hear his ears perk up, Kasey's dad, almost over the phone, because he knows he can mess with Chris over the next few minutes by throwing hypothetical fights between Kaseys and Chris out there. And, I mean, yeah.
No, I would not hit Kaseys.
Have you ever defended yourself?
I have defended myself.
No, I'm sure that was something to see. Have you... I mean, I'm sure I can see, what would just happen. And she'd probably try to throw a punch and just bounce her off with your Buddha belly, or so you call it.
I would either step to one side or block it with an arm.
Chris's idea of defense is the same thing you'd see on TV. Just put up your arm and stop it. Like I said in the beginning, it's not good to make sense out of the shit Chris says. But honestly, I have to agree with Matthew here. Kaseys probably could could beat Chris in a one-on-one fight. And don't get me wrong, I'm not acting like Kasey's some judo expert who's going to be able to take down Chris, but it's really easy to not have the reflexes of a snail like Chris does.
That little limp-wristed twig of yours. I mean, you're pretty big, but you get some pretty scrawny arms. And you're a pretty big target. I mean, she'd be pretty hard to miss you. I mean, I've seen her punches.
Okay.
I don't think you'd be able to react fast enough.
Yeah, well, you have not seen how fast I can react.
You can't even react fast enough to what I'm saying.
You know, one of the smartest moves Chris made in this whole phone call was just staying quiet as Matthew there talked about how Kaseys would beat up Chris. Because as I said, it's clear that he's trying to goad Chris into this conversation, and he's probably expecting Chris to go, no, if she threw a punch at me, I'd whale her. But like that's what the dad clearly wants, but Chris's only response is just to go, okay. Because even, I think for a second he starts to feel like, why does this dad want me to talk about how I would fight his daughter? And also the line about Chris not being fast enough to react to what Matthew's saying is quite golden, because it's apparent this whole call that Chris needs about 10 or 15 seconds to process these things. But, you know, that's just how Chris always operates. His mind doesn't really just work like that.
Because I'd like to spell check and make sure I'm not making any mistakes. Make sure that my mind and my mouth are in sync.
Making
that
mistakes.
My mouth does not go faster than my mind.
What do you even...
That is another one of my thoughts I am willing to admit. Sometimes my mouth goes faster than my brain.
So what Chris is saying here is that he most of the time just says things without thinking about it first, which is not surprising in the slightest. This is how Chris operates on a daily basis. So with him saying, you know, this is something that happens sometimes, this happens all the time.
What else? I bet that's not the only thing that goes faster than your brain. I mean, are you like are you trying to say you're some kind of computer or something? But this is you're getting completely off the point. I mean, okay, so tell me why exactly you aren't naive. You know, why is this crossing the line so much?
Because it's insulting my intelligence.
I mean, what line did I
not
cross
appreciate
exactly?
that. You made me feel anger.
I mean, because you haven't proven your intelligence to me.
I've said this in other parts of the video, but it's clear that Chris's whole mindset on this is one of a child. Because, I mean, shit, just listen to him. The only thing he can say to, like, why are you so upset that I called you naive? Well, you made me feel anger. It's, it's exactly what a kid first learning about emotions would say. And, it's kind of sad.
I mean,
just like a computer, my brain is random, and it picks up memories at random. I cannot simply access them sometimes, even though most of the time I can, but sometimes I can't, and they later come back to me at random.
God, wouldn't that be so ass if that's how computers worked? It's like you're trying to open up Twitter or YouTube, and your computer's just like, nah, maybe later, man. I don't know. Sometime today, maybe tomorrow. I don't know. It's random.
Okay, well, here's how intelligent you really are, and that's because being naive has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence.
Look it up in the dictionary.
I have looked it up in the dictionary. It has nothing to do with intelligence. What are you talking about? What dictionary are you looking up?
Webster's.
You know, I'm sure, you know, if you think naive I'm sure, you know, you're just saying autism is probably just some sort of blanket term for retarded for you, isn't it?
I'll admit I have had some slow-minded moments, but I am certainly not totally retarded.
Yeah, I wanted to get to this part where we talk about the fact that Chris doesn't necessarily know the definition of the word naive. He just hates how it sounds, kind of like how some people hate the word moist. You know, it's just one of those things. And I'm not touching the last part about Chris's mental capacity.
No, I'm looking at my dictionary. Right, you know what naive means? It means unexperienced, not unintelligent. I shouldn't be calling you naive. I should just be calling you a dumbass. But you are naive as well.
I've got a lot more experience than you could imagine.
This is about the 30th or 40th instance in this call of Chris claiming to do something he doesn't or just blatantly lying.
I've had 27 years of experience.
With what? Eating McDonald's and watching TV? You know, son, Chris is younger than you, and he has had far more experiences than you have. And I've had 52 years of experience.
Yeah, well, how about being pinned down by 3 teachers, a guidance counselor, and the elementary school principal, and having your screams and cries recorded on audio tape like a torture chamber?
What the hell are you talking about?
I was pretty much in that situation back in the 4th grade.
You see, just like with the word naive, Chris clearly doesn't understand like what experience. Maybe he understands what it means, but doesn't understand what type of experience Casey's dad is talking about. But Chris's idea of experience is being fucked with back when he was like in 4th grade, and I guess he expects Casey's dad to be like, shit, you went through a lot, maybe you do understand what it's like to be in the real world. But we all know what he's talking about. He's talking about job experience, having experience, you know, just this social experience, which over the duration of this call, Chris has shown that he has a major lack of.
What did you do? Have some kind of temper tantrum?
No, they were scared of me. They did not understand autism.
So what? So you just had some kind of panic attack and they didn't know what to do.
It was not. No, it was not. They just hated me because they did not understand people with autism, and so they tortured me as such. I even ended up with a rash on my neck from that thing, among other things. And we had to fight the school system. They wanted to put me in a mental institution. But that
because you need help.
It's a good time to remember that there is a lot of speculation out there that Barb and Bob told Chris a lot of this stuff in the pursuit to try to sue this school system. I mean, Chris has even claimed before that, like, the principal of this school touched him. So no one knows if this is true or not, but a lot of people believe that Bob and Barb told Chris this. No one knows that, but Chris is using this as, this is his experience in life. And truthfully, his parents keeping him out of the institution they probably would have sent Chris to, which would have probably just been like a special place for kids who have learning disabilities, Chris could have probably been much better off in his life, but that's been said a million times.
That's probably where you belong. I mean, and you call Chris crazy. This is ridiculous.
If I had gone to a mental institution, I would not graduate high school or get my certificate and degree in computer drafting and design. I moved up from what you would consider a state of mind.
I know with college degrees. You know, they probably felt sorry for you, and they probably just kind of let you through. That's probably what happened. You know, schools do that.
You know, years later when Chris's house burned down, his old homework was found by Weens in the trash can, and this is most likely true, as Chris's homework was just a bunch of bullshit. And even at the time, there's this video of Chris when he's like 18 years old doing a video presentation for his class. I assume most people have seen it, but it's just him kind of being like complaining about his grades in the class, doing what he does now, not explaining why he got that grade, just complaining that he got it anyway. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Chris was just moved ahead just so they could get rid of him.
And you know those other, you know, I call them, but I mean, you know, really they're pretty good people. But you know, they actually did something with their degrees, believe it or not. I mean, people with Down syndrome have done more than you, and that degree has done nothing for you.
It has done a lot. It has done a lot for me. It's given me the whole bunch of computer experience and potential that I have. And I will get an office job. And I will move out of this house. And I will run 5 miles.
But you haven't done any of that. I mean, if you're going to say it, then do it.
I would not be saying it if I was not going to do it. That is a promise.
Yeah, you can see that that CAD degree did not do shit for Chris when he's describing computers and that they're always random. And he says that that degree did a lot for him and gave him a lot of like experience and potential. It's been 10 years, Chris hasn't done anything with it, which leads us to the next thing, which Chris says, you know, he wouldn't be saying all this if he wasn't planning on doing it, which, you know, it's pretty obvious, but once again, we're 15 years ahead now, like give or take maybe 13 years ahead, and nothing Chris said and said he would do in this was accomplished. But it's fucking Chris. It's not once again, you can't really expect him to do it. He's just in his natural habitat.
You better do it, you know, before Kaseys runs back to a real man.
Okay, then.
So I'm thinking that's going to happen pretty soon here. I mean, 27 years and you haven't changed.
Well, she and I did not meet 27 years ago. She and I met a few months ago.
This poor bastard doesn't understand a goddamn thing that Casey's dad is saying. He's just picking little pieces and responding to them.
And you haven't, and she wasn't alive 27 years ago, so that doesn't even make any sense.
Well, what you said there a moment ago equally did not make that much sense either. It was like you were implying, like as if she actually knew me my whole 27 years.
This is insulting to my intelligence talking to you.
You can just hear the giddiness in Chris's voice when he says, you know, you actually also said something that didn't make much sense because he thinks he finally has a one-up on this guy. But then again, at the end of the day, he just falls right on his face again because what he said, he completely misinterpreted it in the first place.
I mean, you've shown me nothing but disrespect. I mean, I'm sure you show Kaseys hardly any more respect than you show me. I mean, I've been trying to open your eyes here.
I have shown you respect for a while during the conversation.
Yeah, this is the kind of respect you show me. I would hate to see what kind of respect you show Kaseys.
I show Kaseys a lot of respect.
I had brought this up in previous parts of this video, but this part right here really sounds like Chris is officially checked out and is just like, oh my god, dude, how many times do I have to tell you how good I am and how much I do these things that you claim I don't do? Like, just stop making me say that I do them. I don't want to show you any proof because then I'll have to prove that I don't do them, but god, you're making me lie too much. It's getting frustrating.
I mean, you probably don't even respect her as a person. I mean, you know her.
I do respect her as a person.
You know, her sister said you kept trying to touch her when you met her.
Because I was nervous at the time.
You were nervous? What the hell kind of response is that? You're nervous, so you try to touch you try to touch a girl? What the hell? That's just sick. I mean, that's my daughter. You're trying to touch a girl. You're trying to touch my daughter because you're nervous. I mean, most people try to avoid touching people when they're nervous. God, I can't believe I just heard that. I should come and kick your ass right now.
I only touched her shoulder.
Yeah, this is something that I'm surprised they didn't bring up earlier in the call because I feel like Casey's dad or the troll playing Casey's dad could have really latched on to this and like grilled Christopher, why were you touching her? It's just weird. And he's about to, but it took about an hour and a half into the call for him to finally bring that up. Like, imagine if this was a real dad talking to a guy who wants to date his daughter and he knows that this dude's been creepy and touching her when like she doesn't want to be touched and shit. He waited an hour and a half into that, just to bring this up. It's just, and yeah, and Chris really did do that when Chris went on a date with Kasey at the mall. Apparently he was just touchy as hell, but this is how Chris has always been. Even when he went to the cons, like all those like conventions in the past few years, some people had felt it really uncomfortable that Chris would like hug them without just doing it unprovoked. But yeah, Chris has always had a touching problem.
And I thought it was a friend gesture.
Her shoulder? That's, that did, I heard otherwise. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry too.
He is 110% not sorry. He's just sorry that he's getting called out on it right now and wants to sweep this shit under the rug as fast as possible.
Did you try to kiss her?
No.
Bullshit.
When he's lying, he's lying. That little no Chris gave after that, he was shitting himself. You could tell he was waiting for that to be brought up. And that's another thing. I'm pretty sure Chris did Chris tried to kiss the girl on the Pickle Man date as the Pickle Man was right there and she declined it. But yeah, Chris sounds like a little kid even when he says it. He sounds like a sick little kid with a fucking stuffed nose.
I mean, she told her sister about what you did. I mean, I know. Are you telling me that Kasey lied?
I'm not saying that. I am not saying that.
Are you trying to tell me that? I heard. I mean, I heard you did all kinds of other weird shit. You tried to sniff her or something.
She was sharing her perfumes with me.
I don't think so.
She wanted my opinion on which perfume smelled better.
She gave it to you. She said she gave it to you in the bottle first. She could have just, opened the bottle and sniffed it. You didn't have to sniff her to do it.
In that moment where Chris did sniff this girl out on that date, no matter how weird it was, that he never once thought about going for that bottle. The second she said, "Here, try this," he probably jumped all over trying to smell her hair, because that's the type of person Chris is out on a date. He doesn't know how to react. He doesn't know how to interact with people normally.
I mean, it's a little creepy.
She had wanted the perfume she wanted me to give an honest opinion about on her.
You did it in front of her and her friend. I mean, have you ever done this before? Is this something you do when you meet girls?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Have you ever done this before to another girl?
Yeah, what we've been talking about the sniffing thing. I just want to make sure I understand what we're talking about here.
Yes, anything, any of this creepy shit.
I've always gotten a kick out of how Chris can forget about what he's talking about almost to the second it's said. And Casey's dad, I brought it up. If this was a real dad, saying, why are you doing all this creepy shit? You'd think this would be the focal point of this conversation, the thing that's been brought up the whole time, but we're just hearing about it now.
This touching, this kissing that I've been told you try to do.
Well, first off, I can definitely honestly say I have not kissed a girl
tried
yet, or even tried to.
Really?
Truly.
Chris is clearly lying out of his teeth about trying to do this on the date with Kasey, but when he says he's never done this before, as I've already brought up, he tried to do this to Emily on the date with the Pickle Man. So, Chris does have a thing with trying to just sneak a smooch from any lady he's on a date with right before they part ways.
Yeah, I don't believe. I mean, I don't believe a word of that. How many dates have you even been on?
In my lifetime, only one.
Only one.
And this was a few months ago, before I met Kacey.
Before you met Kasey.
Yes.
And how did that turn out? I mean, how did she act toward you? What did she think of you?
It turned out that girl just was not all that into me.
So this part's a little confusing to me because I'm not sure if Chris is talking about his date with Emily that was ruined by the pickle man. I genuinely don't think that's the date he's talking about because he probably wants to just keep that as far out of the conversation as possible. But this also could just be Chris making up some random date he was on. Now, I do think he's genuinely being honest when he says he's only ever been on one date, and it's probably the pickle man date, but I don't know if that's what he's talking about here, if he's just saying he's been on one date and just, making up some other shit. Or actually, you know what? As I was editing this video, I'm cutting myself back in here. This could be talking about Chris went on a date one time with a woman named Farron, who was like a ginger lady, who was like a little of a bigger lady. But the trolls, I guess people who got this date sorted out just to fuck with Chris, and he actually did go out with this girl, but afterwards she said nah, she wasn't into Chris. So maybe that's what he's talking about, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm just thinking of shit now, but that could be what he's talking about. I don't know though. It's not important. Let's just move on.
I mean, and Kasey met you around August, didn't she? I mean, that was a couple months ago. So how far along was this?
That one date was last June.
And why exactly? And now, why exactly do you think she wasn't interested in you?
I don't know. I am not a mind reader.
But so you can't think of a single reason of why she might not have been interested in you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can honestly say that I cannot.
I mean, you can't think of maybe... I could think of a couple reasons right off the bat why a girl would not have been into you. I mean, I didn't even need to think about it.
And in classic Chris fashion, like usual, Chris cannot see any reason that this woman he went out with, who I already mentioned, I don't know who it was, wouldn't be interested in him. Because, to Chris, he looks in the mirror, sees himself as the character in his Sonichu comics, and just thinks, why wouldn't any of these women want any of this? And it's the story of Chris's life. Now, Casey's dad here brings up a lot of good points that, I could easily see reasons why, women wouldn't be too interested in someone who has no drive to do anything. But to Chris, all you need is some potential, baby, and that'll get you wherever you need to go. Now, we're going to stop it there, and we got 15 minutes left, and that'll be the next video, which will be the final part of this. We finally finished this after all these months, but we're going to get into some more funny shit in that next part where Chris is just going to be grilled more on the date. There's going to be the final, kind of Kasey being mad at Chris apologizing to them, a lot to look forward to in the final part. But, I want to thank all of y'all who've stuck through this and have watched all these. It's over fucking 4 or 5 hours of this shit it's going to end up. It's a lot. But, yeah, man, I just hope you guys are really enjoying this. And I hope you're enjoying it like I'm enjoying it, because I love going back and listening to this call. It's fucking classic every time I hear it. But let me give a shout out to Sky, Holly, your mom, Krabby, Vanessa, Tyler, Liz Vendor. You guys are goats. And you know what? Let me give a shout out again to all of y'all who stick through and make these videos all the way to the end. I don't know how you do it. But, man, thank y'all for all your support. I really couldn't thank all you guys enough for that. And yeah, like I said, the final part's coming up probably tomorrow or the next day. I still got to get the smoke show somewhere in there, but honestly, not a lot of fun topics this week. But I think most likely we're going to take another dive into the wacky world of Ethan Ralph and see what he's got going on. So, look forward to that. And if you like Chris Chan content, like I brought up before in these, I think we're going to jump to Alec Benson Leary once this is all said and done. But that'll probably be, that won't be for a little while. We're going to give this a little cool down. But, like I say in all these videos, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. stay safe, roll one up. What day is it? Tuesday. The weekend is about 3 days away, and it's going to be here before you know it. You're going to be sitting down, relaxing with your feet up, just, having a good old time. So once that's, I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, guys. I got all stoned for the outro. So take care. Have a great day. Stay safe. See y'all in the next one.